On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to do things a little bit different. We're going to look at the highlights of the last few days of important events in the news that you're going to want to pay attention to, and I just hope you guys enjoy.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Gotta be honest, not many of us in the press are looking forward to the 2020 Democratic primary. Just hours ago, it felt like it was going to be an exhausting, miserable affair. The current field is a mixture of fossils, extremists, and power-hungry cynics willing to say anything and hurt anybody to get a hold on the White House. But things have changed. A new candidate has entered the race, a man untethered from the old ways, possibly even from the conventional restrictions of physics, time and space. More a spiritual force than a temporal leader, more a poet than a politician. Ladies and gentlemen, the author of our redemption, Beto O'Rourke.
Beto O'Rourke, the social media phenom.
Despite his loss to Ted Cruz, the rock and roll loving 46-year-old caught the nation's attention. His offbeat social media posts appealing to a younger generation, even taking us skateboarding at Whataburger. His Senate candidacy winning the endorsement of celebrities like Beyonce.
Beto loves rock and roll, says GMA. He's not like everyone else. He doesn't do stuffy speeches or policy programs. He's not going to bore you with entitlement projections or some scary stuff about the Korean Peninsula. Beto's got a skateboard and wears Nirvana t-shirts. His vision for this country is 1995. That was the year he was living way uptown in this walk-up and working as a manny and knew this dude on West 112th Street with some of the stickiest bud in Manhattan. Indica. A little heavy, but sweet. It was a good time. Beto wants to bring us back to that time, and the press is totally on board.
I saw him for the first time just a month ago when he sat down with Oprah, and me and the rest of the people in the audience thought, wow, this guy has this dynamic, positive energy.
Yeah, he has that raw talent. He is very kind of Obama-esque indeed. The women voted for him in the suburbs of Houston who hadn't voted Democrat before because they had a kind of Beto crush going on.
You know, he's wholesome and he's earnest.
He's got that magic dust. Of course his son is named Ulysses. I love that that's his son's name.
He has that gleam in his eye. Somebody, Evan Smith at the Texas Tribune said seeing him is like, it's like a Jesus Christ superstar seeing this guy in front of people. He's got that celebrity aura about him. And in that moment, he was owning that.
You heard it. Beto's got that magic dust. Oh, yeah, he does. At least an 8-ball. Though the guy on 112th Street has more if you need it. Beto's got great hair, too. Beat that combo. Actual voting doesn't begin for months, but Beto is already America's spiritual president. By the way, that's a much cleaner way to run for office. Real elections, the ones with voters, sometimes end like this.
So we have quite a bit of big news to report. We can call now that the Texas race will go to Ted Cruz, the incumbent Republican.
That Ted Cruz win over Beto O'Rourke, significant.
Well, that election was a bummer. So Beto split soon after on a solo road trip. It was a whole me and you and a dog named Boo kind of thing. The sort of trip that Kerouac or Steinbeck would have taken. Just the hum of the engine and the black ribbon of the open road. A time to feed the soul. Also a time to stage a series of publicity shots for Snapchat and Instagram while simultaneously blogging the whole thing. Timeless stuff. An all-American redemption story. Beto came back a better man. He understood the running for president thing was not for him.
Is there a scenario where you run for president in 2020 or beyond?
No.
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 Unequivocally, you will never run for president.
No punto. No period.
No punto, baby! Down on the border where the people are authentic and speak various languages at once. That means, yes, I am running for president just as soon as I can hire a staff of consultants and line up some billionaires to fund it. But for now, I will lie about my plans. And that's exactly what Beto did. And so here we are in the age of Beto. What's the plan, man? What are we doing? What's next? Well, what's next, Beto says, is understanding that the things that we think of as terrifying threats to the country are actually perfectly cool. like more than 20 million people using fake identities to live illegally inside the United States. That's not a problem. That's the best, man.
All of us, wherever you live, can acknowledge that if immigration is a problem, it's the best possible problem for this country to have.
Yeah, it's the best problem. Hard to think of a better problem. Illegal immigration is such a cool problem to have. We ought to have more. Let's knock down the border walls, dude.
If you could, would you take the wall down now? Here.
Yes.
Like you have a wall.
Absolutely.
Knock it down.
I'd take the wall
And
down.
do you think if there's a referendum here in this city, that would pass?
I do.
Yeah, it's fine. But that's not to say Beto doesn't see problems on the horizon. He does. And when he does, his dough brown eyes cloud a little. And he stares off into the distance to consider a holistic solution, just like James Dean would have done if he had lived to be Beto's age and could skateboard. Beto says global warming is a major bummer. Global warming could make us go extinct, like the dinosaurs in the museums, man. Dead forever.
Some will criticize the Green New Deal for being too bold or being unmanageable. But I tell you what, I haven't seen anything better that addresses this singular crisis that we face, a crisis that could, at its worst, lead to extinction.
Extinction. That's what Beto's fighting against. What else is he for? Well, it's a fair question, but honestly, it's not really clear. We checked his campaign website. There's a picture there that says Beto for America in English. The one in Spanish says Beto for all. We couldn't find any actual policies, even about fighting extinction. We did find a sweet Beto tote bag, just $30, and you don't even have to pledge to NPR to get it, though you probably already have.
Like this entire investigation gets started because Papadopoulos drunkenly runs his mouth to an Australian diplomat.
Boy, was that wrong. Joining us right now is George Papadopoulos himself, author of a brand new book. It's out today, Deep State Target, How I Got Caught in the Crosshairs of the Plot to Bring Down President Trump. George, what was it like seeing these commentators? This is just a small sample. Talk about you as a liar.
Oh my goodness. From day one, I knew this entire thing was a hoax. Unfortunately, I just couldn't speak. I basically had a gag order on me until I was sentenced, and I was very fortunate that my then girlfriend, now wife, was slowly going on TV, kind of giving some hints that, look, it's not what you think. She obviously couldn't tell the whole story because there was, legalities involved. But I think that she was starting to give a couple hints when she was going on ABC News, MSNBC, CNN, and people started to look at my story and things weren't adding up.
Well, something we know now, clearly, according to the Attorney General's memo on the Mueller report, is there was no collusion.
That's right.
So when they were probing you, asking you questions about collusion, if there was no collusion, no actual crime, they have no evidence of collusion, and yet you got in trouble because you said something that was not right to the FBI.
Yeah, my story is, there's been so much misinformation about actually what my real case was all about. And just to really simplify it for the viewers, it was about a professor I met in London who the FBI told the world was a Russian agent. This guy is no Russian agent.
Who is he?
Joseph Mifsud is his name. I met this individual through an intermediary who represents the FBI in the UK. And I met him at a university in Rome, which the CIA and the FBI holds various symposiums at. So I never expected him to be some sort of Russian agent. And then one day this person tells me that the Russians have Hillary Clinton's emails out of the blue.
Who is this
Joseph Mifsud.
Say, hey, I got Hillary Clinton's emails.
Yeah, he tells me the Russians have Hillary Clinton's emails. I don't believe him. This was not a credible person. So basically what the FBI wanted me to do, and what Mueller was trying to, I guess, force me to admit, even though it never happened, was who did I tell on the campaign about what this guy told me? Because if I had told somebody on the campaign this entire...
Collusion.
It would have been a collusion, conspiracy, but it would have been based on Western intelligence basically fabricating the entire thing, and that's why the case is insane.
So when you were interviewed by special counsel, and you were, how long did you have to testify? How many hours?
Probably about 20 hours of just getting my head beaten,
And you said they were trying to make you sing? They were trying to make you say something that wasn't true?
That was my impression. I mean, at that time, I'm being arrested. I'm taken off an airplane. I'm violently arrested. I'm thrown into a cell with 2 inmates. I don't know what's going on. I write it, in the book. People are talking about chicken wings on Wednesdays in jail and how I'm going to be in there for months before I even get a lawyer. And then all of a sudden, I have 2 lawyers who really don't buy into my story because I guess they thought, this is a young guy, he got caught up, let's just plead. So as I'm talking to Mueller's people, and they're trying to get me to say something that I know is not true, I just couldn't. I had to stick to the facts, the truth.
And you were treated beautifully in prison, you say, by the guards and other prisoners because you didn't rat out the president.
Yeah. So basically, as soon as I get into the beautiful city of Oxford, Wisconsin, and the people were actually great there, the guards basically tell me I'm taking off my prison hat right now, and I'm just talking to you as a U.S. citizen. What you did was the right thing. We understand that this was a fabrication. It was a setup against you, and you did the right thing fighting back while you came into here, and we applaud you for that.
So just to be clear, Stefan Halper, they told you you're a Russian agent, is giving you information. You go to a bar, and you meet this Ambassador Downer, and you have a casual conversation. That would happen with Ambassador Downer, who had donated money to the Clinton Foundation, if you're following this, and he's talking to you. Is he trying to get information out of you?
Yeah, so just to put some context about Alexander Downer, so I was one of 4 witnesses that was invited to testify in front of the Oversight Committee last year in front of Mark Meadows and John Radcliffe. The other 3 were Jim Comey, Sally Yates, and Loretta Lynch. And people were scratching their heads. Why would George Papadopoulos be among one of those 4 names about FISA abuse? And during my conversations or testimony in front of that committee, the name Alexander Downer came up a lot. And he came up within the context of this guy was probably spying on me. And he wasn't there acting like a friendly diplomat looking to pass along potentially national security sensitive info, but he was there to basically sabotage me and the campaign. And just to be clear, I never remember talking about dirt with this person. He's actually contradicted himself numerous times.
They say you got drunk and you started telling him how Hillary Clinton's emails and all this story.
Yeah, I mean, that's a complete lie. I mean, he's even come out and said we had 1 drink each. And that's the truth. Now, something that people don't know, and I've never shared it with anyone except right now, is that I actually reported Alexander Downer to both the FBI and Bob Mueller. Because of his very bizarre, strange behavior during my meeting with him, where he was pulling his phone out, he was recording me. It was just very bizarre.
Well, so you did the right thing. Ultimately, though, you were convicted. You served your time. You're out. You got a brand new book. It drops today. Deep State Target: How I Got Caught in the Crosshairs of the Plot to Bring Down President Trump. If you want to know the whole story, read all about it. George Papadopoulos. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
But if you want to know if someone was putting together a broad scandal, you start with your story and work your way backwards because somebody put these people up to this.
That's exactly right. And my book really puts everyone. It characterizes everyone's role, how I met them, and what their involvement was in the scandal.
And your wife stood by you the entire time, visited you every day when you were behind bars.
Simona's great. She's a real hero in my eyes.
We saw her in all the videos when you were walking into any of the buildings, the government buildings. She was right there with you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
I don't know, white supremacist of any kind, or would you reject those titles?
I despise white supremacy.
Okay, I want to make sure that I get that clear, and here's why I think they deplatform people like you, or remove you, is because it's easy to say, oh, Hitler's bad, so we can just study it, right? Create this boogeyman. But if someone like you is out there expressing opinions, and you're effective, and there's a movement, and there's a groundswell behind you, and they go, hold on a second, if people really knows what Tommy Robinson believes, everything that you've just stated right now, they go, he might actually make some headway here, so let's remove him. Let's leave the crazy white supremacists on there with swastikas. Let's leave them under the guise of free speech so people think we're not shadow banning anybody, but let's get rid of the people who are actually affecting change. I think that's what it is.
I agree. I agree. I think that when they looked at my figures and they looked at the response and they looked at the engagement, for example, I think as a political figure, I had 1.2 million people on Facebook, and my engagement, if I went live, the amount, it was 30,000 people watching it live straight away. The engagement in the comments, it was what Theresa May or Jeremy Corbyn could dream of.